Bienvenidos, worldwide fans of cinema. We are back here for Enfuegotainment in the fall with our final comic book movie of the year, and I've got my two running buddies with me.
I'm Cecil Laird.
Luis Hernandez.
Yeah, you've seen us doing some coverage of the, awesomely printed variety before this year. We did Suicide Squad together, we did Batman vs. Superman, but this is Marvel's foray into the supernatural, or at least slightly, as they have tried to say, like otherworldly presences, alternate dimensions, getting kind of trip-tastic. We're talking Doctor Strange today, guys. Woo! Yes.
Through the mystic arts, we harness energy and shape reality. We travel great distances in an instant.
How do I get from here to there?
How did you become a doctor?
Study and practice, years of it. There's a strength to him.
But is he ready? Be careful which path you travel down, Strange. Stronger men than you have lost their way.
Always do a little bueno, malo, and feo. Little good, bad, and ugly. My silly little Hispanic, but yet being an Irishman, it's kind of funny. But hey, we're in Arizona, damn it, so leave us alone. I actually, as far as the good goes, I'm very happy with the choice of Scott Derrickson, I believe his name is.
Yeah.
The director.
The director in particular. He is a guy from a horror background. He did his very first big budgeted movie was Hellraiser Inferno, the fifth Hellraiser movie. Maybe not too memorable.
Oops.
Kind of funny. But he went on to do Deliver Us from Evil. He did Sinister. Yeah. And so Marvel kind of decided to say, let's see if we can have another James Gunn, where we get a guy from a low budget horror background and give him this big property. And the reason I mention is because visually the look of this film blew me away. Yeah. It was psychedelic. It was crazy. Cecil, give some thoughts, man.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my bueno. So very, very.
Are we all in consensus about that? Visually?
Yeah,
Holy
visually
smokes.
it's amazing.
This was definitely. I'm not going to say this was an instance of style over substance.
No.
However, the visuals were definitely by far and away the standout of this movie over the story by a long shot.
Yes.
It was a sight to behold, and we got to see it in IMAX 3D, which, quite frankly, after seeing it that way, I think it's probably the only way to see it.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not the only way, obviously. I'm sure you'll get some enjoyment out of it in other formats, but I don't think that you will get as much enjoyment out of it in other formats.
No, not with the colors and everything about it, the CG, the special effects. It's almost like you need to view it in a way that just assaults your senses.
You really do. You really
can't just
do.
watch it just I'll pop it on the TV or download it. To get the
watch it on your phone. Don't you dare do
you
that
can't
on Pirate Bay app on your phone.
Get
you
the
horrible
full
person.
effect. You felt like you were opening up your third eye.
Oh
Yeah, really, for sure.
Open my third eye.
Yeah, and what was really neat about it, frankly, tying into the visuals, was I liked the fact that this seemed to be more akin to Thor visually. Because it was, Thor was a much more colorful movie.
And fantastical in general.
Yeah. Whenever
Guardians
was colorful too, but I think Thor really focuses on it, and especially in the second one when they spend so much time on Asgard,
I love
you can see how colorful this other world is, and it's sort of mystical. And the same goes for Doctor Strange. His world is very mystical, and so they lean heavily on the colors. Now, I don't know if that's purposeful to try and tie them in visually or anything, but it is so gorgeous to see because it's frankly colors that we don't see on such a brilliantly collage-y level.
He first punched into that multiverse, man. That was probably still, even though there was some awesome stuff in the finale, that was still my favorite of the psychedelic parts.
That's the best part of the whole movie.
That was the very Ant-Man microverse movie.
Yeah. And they even had that moment where he goes into the microverse, and I don't know if you remember, it was brief, but it's we saw this in Ant-Man.
Mm-hmm. That was their little hint at it.
And then he just expands out. And it's
through
just,
time and space, so cool.
I mean,
and they lay down the rules pretty good too.
Yeah, and honestly, it's all Ditko, man. It's all they really, you can tell they were we're focusing on the first Doctor Strange, the early stuff, the 60s stuff.
Just Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, when they were maybe doing psychedelics.
Yeah, it's just such a psychedelic. And I'm not a big 3D fan,
We had to coerce this guy to see it in 3D.
But I'm
with us.
glad I saw it in 3D because I can't imagine viewing those scenes any other way than that IMAX.
It just
3D.
wouldn't be as impactful.
Yeah. It just felt like you were flipping through the comic. It was really,
and the
really
and the
interesting.
translucence of the look of those characters when they were having those out of body astral experiences.
Yeah.
I don't think that would be as effective in 3D because you literally had these
Out of
images
3D,
closer
you mean.
to out of 3D. Excuse me, in like just the regular 2D format, seeing those people right. in front
Yeah,
of you,
because the
and then-
camera literally moves at one point behind. At one point, when there's two people sort of speaking in an astral projection form without ruining who it is or anything, the camera shifts sort of from behind to in front, and you literally keep focus of the second person as we pass through the first person, like you're
maintain
saying.
the awesome translucence and everything.
It's
so good.
interesting that talking about like since Doctor Strange is a character that deals with like dimensions and perception, it is really interesting to feel to think that like
Planes, really,
Yeah.
astral planes and everything.
3D is the way to see it because it is a different perspective and
It differentiates.
yeah, and it's
Big
just it was really interesting. Like I said, I'm not a 3D person. I've seen a lot of movies in 3D, and I'm not into it, but it works so well.
It warrants
with
itself in
Doctor
specific
Strange.
experiences like
Yes.
this one, like this one.
Yeah, especially the IMAX.
Yeah. So how about another bueno? Anybody else have something?
cast.
The cast
Yeah,
was
top
great.
notch.
I thought they all brought it. Although you could unfortunately you could hear Benedict Cumberbatch trying really hard for that American accent parts.
I thought his
Just in a
accent
couple
was
parts.
so great.
Just in a couple
Maybe
parts,
a few,
especially
but
when
for
he
the
was,
most part, I was
especially when he was yelling at someone something that I don't want to ruin. You could tell it was slipping, and I was like, oh, that's not quite how you pronounce
going
that,
to
but okay. But okay, yeah, you know.
Borderline.
But
I
but you know who I loved was
Matt Mikkelsen.
No, well, obviously I loved him because I loved Hannibal. But I actually thought Tilda Swinton knocked it out of the park.
She was amazing, and she was in that movie a lot more than I expected.
Yes. But thankfully.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys picked this up, but for some reason, I like watching her. I just felt like, man, I felt like she got a joy being a part of this movie.
I think she did.
Like, it's
especially-
something that you don't expect her to do. Marvel has this reputation now, and it's like
She's been
I'm just
very
gonna do
eclectic
this.
in her career, though.
And
So,
you know,
like-
I gotta say, I think I understand now after seeing the movie why they were okay with that change from the comics, right?
We're
Because
gonna
it
save
isn't.
that for the ugly, actually.
Oh well, what I was gonna say is
Just
that
the reaction to it.
No, what I was gonna say is that they didn't need to, like, Wong sort of fulfilled the purpose that the Ancient One would have fulfilled as far as representing the Eastern culture and everything.
Well, and they
Wong,
changed his
yeah.
character too from the comics,
Yeah.
from what I was reading. Right? He was pretty much just like
a
butler.
manservant.
Yeah.
Well, but I think this is leading into that. I
Yeah.
think this was sort of the origin of Wong and Doctor Strange as well.
Okay.
Yeah, like it might look like Sherlock and Watson,
A little bit.
but
Sherlock and Wong. Yeah.
Very close.
Sherlock and Wong.
I can see the dynamic.
But I feel like they gave Wong such again, everyone in that movie and every character is well written, and I think they were their own person. Like, you know who they are in the comic, but yet they stood out. Like, Wong was not Strange's manservant; he was his own person.
Right.
You know, like it was
They're going to be more on the same level than they're represented in
Yeah,
the
it's-
comics
yeah.
going forward.
Which
I
is
think.
good, actually.
Yeah.
Even if they do the sort of servant, I mean, without not being the actual servant, but assistant, whatever you want to say.
or best friend.
Right. If they do that going forward, it's not gonna be quite the same as in the comics, which is good because they're updating it.
Yeah.
So you guys can probably tell these two have read the comics and that I have not. So I don't have that basis of comparison, unfortunately. But I felt like the Wong character was awesome, and he generated maybe some of the laughs that I really thought were effective, and then some other ones where Cumberbatch or Batch or whatever I think kind of missed it. But we can save that for the bad. But the one other thing I want to mention, bueno-wise, that I thought was good, I love the score. It really felt very fantastical. It felt almost like, kind of like medieval-esque at times with the harpsichord, and but then they would come in with like the weird electric organ, and I'm like, okay,
doors.
70s psychedelic, and the Doors of Perception when what's his name, who
Those were awesome.
will go unnamed, was reading the book on the That was great.
It was good.
That's the Stanley cameo. Minor spoiler, guys. He's reading The Doors of Perception, a psychedelic Alexander Huxley book.
When I said Doors, I was like thinking of like the Doors.
I was thinking about the
band.
switching
Well,
windows.
that's where the band.
See, this movie's all about opening up
from that book.
doors.
Yeah.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, The Doors of Perception, the Huxley book. Yeah, that's where they got their name. Trippy book. So kind of funny. There was references throughout to the trip-tasticness of it.
Yeah.
I mean, they played Pink Floyd Interstellar Overdrive at one point, and that is like drug-induced lucidity, LSD insanity. So yeah.
They really wore. It's so interesting because like if you watch it on a surface level, this movie is your typical origin story.
Mm-hmm.
But
with a little less humor than I'm used to for Marvel.
Yeah.
And wow, maybe that's a good segue to the Malo, because I felt like there was more humor than I was anticipating, and some of it went over good, and some like he seemed like such a serious character on paper.
I don't think I laughed one time in the whole movie.
Really?
I laughed at some. I laughed.
Well, that's because I felt like some of the jokes fell flat, like Beyonce, Eminem. Like that
How
whole
he just
scene.
kept. I like that he just kept going. I don't like.
It kind of took me out of it a little bit, honestly. It was one of the few points in the film where I felt it stuck out like a sore thumb. Like, what were they trying?
Well, and I gotta say, the one part that really was like, oh, come on, was the I'm not gonna say who or why, but the tear drying moment was too much for me.
Yeah.
When I was like, really? He's like, no, stop. I was like, okay.
I mean, it's so weird to think about this movie because it's like it wasn't bad, but there's things about it that like I love, like the influences that they wear on their sleeves, but then there were some things that
you can tell it was not a perfect film.
Yeah, but there were things I felt like they were really trying to recapture. I mean, I don't know. I got a lot of like Tony Stark.
A little bit.
There was a lot of that, yeah.
Snarky snidness and stuff. Even the
not only that, but the privileged rich man.
The privilege,
you know. But at
being
least
reckless and dumb.
But at least, well, and that's the thing. Tony is very skilled in his field, and Doctor Strange is very skilled in his field, and that's, you know what, that might be. I'm gonna take that as my motto then.
Okay.
Because here's the problem with Doctor Strange as a whole for me. They make him very unsympathetic at the very start from the go. And not only that, like, despite the fact that he's like this master surgeon that saves lives that would otherwise be gone, he's so like arrogant and shitty about it.
He's not the kind of person you want to root for.
No, he's really not. Yeah. And it's like, so why does he deserve these powers? It doesn't. There's a disconnect there.
Maybe when we get Doctor Strange 2 and 3, we'll see the
But
arc.
it's too. If you can't do that, if you can't do that in movie 1, then what's you have an unsympathetic character pretty much through the entire thing. Like, like what you don't. I don't feel bad about him and his relationship issues because they're his cause.
Yeah,
he pushes away.
And then also, why does he end up just getting this awesome chance at something when he's really not that?
He doesn't deserve it.
And then the only persistence he shows is just knocking on the door, begging to be let
quite
in.
frankly, his persistence comes down to entirely selfish purposes.
Oh, it's all selfish. Everything.
And that doesn't
go back to
with me.
Which they go back to about how he's a selfish character and he's only looking out for himself.
But
he still gets rewarded.
Yeah, but see, I think that's gonna come back and bite him in the ass. I think that's where what's his name? Mordo. I think that's. Honestly, this, like I said, this movie is your basic origin story. Straight up, it's just your basic Marvel origin story. But I feel like
closer to Spider-Man even than some of the more recent
comes along to write or do the second one and decides to expand, you're gonna really dive into those two characters and like how they are perceived in the first film, and then I think it'll hit the fan in the second one. I think Strange will go.
Well, Strange is going to have a much bigger presence in a lot of other things before we even get a Doctor Strange 2. He's going to be in both. We're guessing he's going to be in the Thor movie.
Thor Ragnarok.
And then he's going to be in the Avengers, Infinity War movie for sure.
He might show up. We don't know his extent of it.
But still, we're gonna get more of him before we get anywhere near another Doctor Strange.
Well, then maybe those are the arcs. I mean, with these comic book movies, you want a character arc, but you have to realize that the arc isn't just in the film. It's their entire character arc goes from their first movie to whatever team movie, whatever cameo. So maybe we'll have this. Well, Thor. Then whatever happens after Infinity War, we'll see like Stephen Strange not being like a shithead.
Well, I mean, everyone is saying that
Hopefully.
there's going to be mass upheaval after Infinity War, and characters are not going to be around anymore. So maybe the newer introduced ones, like you know, Black Panther, Strange, maybe Spider-Man, if they can get those rights issues figured out.
New Avengers.
Yeah, yeah.
The rights issues are figured out. They're allowed to use Spider-Man.
They
just
are,
have to
but
work sort of
Sony.
in tandem with Sony, but not even that much.
Yeah.
I think they just have to pay Sony, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I say one bad thing?
One bad thing
One
before we
more
get to
bad-
the
yeah,
ugly.
before
Yeah,
the
lay it
ugly.
on.
I don't know if this is bad or ugly. I'm just gonna say it. One thing I didn't like, I could have done without, was I get Rachel McAdams.
I was just thinking that.
I get her in the beginning, but the
Wait, that was Rachel McAdams?
Yeah, from Mean Girls.
That's right, and
Sherlock.
Notebook. Oh, okay, that's right.
But yeah, I got her in the beginning. I get it. After that, there was no reason for her to be. She was the Natalie Portman.
It's the exact same. No,
They do
you know
that
what it
a
is?
lot with the love interest.
She's
They
the
really
exact
do.
same role that the nurse on Daredevil and Luke Cage and Jessica
But
Jones
she-
is playing.
No, I feel like with that character, Templeton, right? She's different. She's a voice. Rachel McAdams did not have. She was the. Here's the thing.
And she was barely there,
I don't
too.
understand why you need to have a love interest in every of these films. Like
She was more a
sometimes it
sounding
works.
board than a love interest, quite frankly.
Yeah, sometimes I get it. Other times it's like, dude, I wouldn't mind a comic book movie where there isn't like the dude isn't trying to get laid.
What dude isn't trying?
He was obviously not trying to, the way he's pushing her away.
Yeah,
and that
that's
was a little
true,
bit ugly too. And
yeah, he was a dick.
yeah, he was a dick. That was a little ugly. The one big ugly that I wanted to mention is the fact that, and we got to wrap it up here shortly, unfortunately, but the fact that there was the whole whitewashing controversy with the casting of Tilda Swinton, and they're like, well, you turned it into a woman, and that was their justification for the altering of the Ancient One, but would it have been better served with an Asian woman, as so many people are? I mean,
It probably could.
what are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think it depends on the actor.
You know what? I think it might have been. I love Tilda Swinton. Don't get me
too.
wrong.
Same.
But if it was a Madame Gao type actress, the same type person that they had on Daredevil and stuff, it might have lent a little bit more credibility to it.
The whitewashing thing. To me,
I don't consider it whitewashing. It's just choices
my problem
that aren't
is
the
this.
greatest.
It's like this. It's like you're gonna do a movie with the meditation, all that. Oh, let's make it someone who's Asian. Oh God, cliche. What, only Asians can play martial artists and all that.
Which is why they went white for the new one that's coming on Netflix. Why can't I think of it?
I don't know, but they did the same thing for Ghost in the Shell with Scarlett Johansson playing what would be
but see,
an Asian female
what I'm
character.
saying is different. No, I'm not. No, that's different. What this is this is a character who is dealing with mysticism and kind of Buddhist
Iron Fist.
philosophies.
That's what I was thinking.
And then it's like, well, okay, we'll throw an Asian in there, and then people are like, oh, what? Only Asians? Those are the only roles they can play.
They can't be. They can't be railing against that. I don't know.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I
Maybe,
can understand why Marvel was like, let's just go different, because I think with Marvel, for me, at the most part, I don't think they really care. Race and sex doesn't matter. It's like actors, and everyone they've
quality,
cast,
yeah, I
it's been
understand.
high quality, and they've been actors that you would not see in these types of roles, and it allows these actors to kind of branch out a little bit more. They're doing the big blockbuster, and they're playing a character that is normally portrayed this way, who has a history. So they, as an actor, they got to take it on. Well, I want to respect the character, but I'm glad that we're doing a little bit different. It's just Marvel allows their actors to have fun and play with their roles, and the same with their directors too.
As they've shown,
Yeah.
And
Well,
in the end of the day, I think they did a pretty damn good job with this one.
Yeah, I was going to say the only ugly for me is to sort of be the other side of the coin for our praise on the effects. Was while the scenery effects were gorgeous, the people were not that gorgeous.
Okay,
The people were CG. Were so obviously CG. It was a little bit painful at points.
3D or if it was just
No, that was just because that's the
one of
thing.
the
The
damages of
environments
watching it in
look
this format.
gorgeous. But when people are getting thrown around, it's like, okay, no, gosh, CG.
It was
CG,
pretty
CG.
cartoon looking.
That was pretty rough.
One of the
pretty rough.
sacrifices for the format, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it's not 100%.
Had to mention it though. Had to mention it.
You had to. And we want to extend a grande gracias to you guys for tuning in and actually, hearing our thoughts about this. There's going to be lots more Enfuegotainment coverage coming with Fantastic Beasts approaching Arrival. That
Can't
last
wait for Fantastic
Star Wars
Beasts.
Rogue One. Oh my lord, I'm going
Also starring Mads
shizzle crazy.
Mikkelsen.
Yeah.
Yes, which was funny seeing him in the trailer and then in the movie here. So I extend a grande gracias to these two gents who decided to check this flick out, discuss it with me. Gracias, Cecil.
Thank you very much.
And to you, Senor Luis, as well. Gracias, brother.
Thank you, man.
Hell yeah, guys. You can always follow Jaime En Fuego, myself, the showrunner here on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube here. Subscribe, like, share, be a cool cat. And until next time, adios, sin amigos, but let's make it sooner rather than later. Peace.